Every time you hear a bell ring, another one of Zareth's accounts makes it into Kyber. Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Zareth Prevails. Today, we're going to talk about what you should farm next. This is a video series that I didn't really intend to make it into a series, but I do think that there's enough changes in the game. They're still releasing enough updates that we need to be paying attention to what the best farms are and what the most efficient way to do things are. So, let's jump into it, guys. Why am I making another one of these amazing articulate, informative videos? And honestly, there's a few different factors. So since the last time I made a video on this topic, Kellerin Beck was released. We have him in the game. He's pretty decent, but how is he impacting things? The Endor raid, last time I had a video out, I was talking about how C-3PO was amazing in the Endor raid, and he's still decent, but he doesn't continue to be half of the raid damage that you're going to do. So how are we adapting to that? Mostly the Endor raid is solved. We know what characters to farm, and so we'll talk about that. New Bo-Katan is here. How is she impacting things? That I have some footage. I guess I'm not going to show you the footage, so mostly I'm just bragging. Hey, I have footage. Do you have footage? That's cool, man. Yeah, I'm not going to show you, but I definitely, that it exists, and I've seen it. So, we'll talk about a little bit what her impact is and what it's going to be. Should you be farming her really hard, or what? Imperial remnants are a thing now, because Dark Trooper Moff Gideon is here, so we know a few things about that, and Darth Bane has been announced as the new conquest character. That's a ton of stuff, guys. So, what's our main goal? It's always to get as much stuff as we can. It's a resource management game. I mean, I know that there's strategy elements, there's a ton of other things, but at the end of the day, how are we going to allocate our resources, quote-unquote, responsibly, and how are we going to stay relevant? I mean, just because we're getting new cool characters or older characters, whatever, are we relevant? Are we able to keep up with the newest content that CG is consistently churning out? And, of course, we want to be a little bit efficient if we can, sometimes. So what should our farms be focused on? I changed this slide a little bit. I've been recycling a lot of these slides, but updating them every single time, of course. And this one is more just an insight of, alright, so GAC, if you want to be good at GAC and get all the resources, I mean, that's something you could do. The problem is, eventually you're going to hit a pretty hard wall, and your rewards are either going to flatline, or they're going to diminish as you kind of get knocked back into reality. And continuing to go as hard as you can for GAC is probably going to be a little problematic, just because you're not going to have the teams that you need to be able to help your guild in the raid, or be able to even help in territory wars necessarily. They're different teams and characters, and so you kind of advance in your GAC naturally. You kind of just, as you get more teams, your GAC results get better. And that's not exactly completely the comprehensive description of how GAC works, but that's kind of how it is. Territory wars, as your guild improves, I mean, you could have the most amazing roster and everything, but if your guild isn't going to be motivated and do well, your territory war results are going to suffer significantly. And then I just put conquest on this list because, honestly, conquest you're going to also do better as your roster expands, and for the most part, there's not really a targeted team or character to work on for for conquest. I mean, there are a few like CLS and Jedi Master Luke, but I don't know if I'd farm them specifically for conquest. So, you know, for what it's worth, the ones that you really want to be looking at by focusing on specific teams and characters are going to be Fleet Arena, the current raid, whatever that raid is. The Endor raid is the one we're on right now. The territory battle stuff, and then, of course, events such as assault battles, or the Night Sisters thing that gives you Zetas, or the Wicket one. Endor escalation that gives you Zetas, etc. So, you know, those are all somewhat important if you target the specific team. So, what's the main focus? I think the main focus should be Fleet Arena. Honestly, that you're going to get a disproportionately large number of crystals earned every single day if you want to be motivated and get to number 1 spot, but only if you have specific fleets able to counter the current meta. The current raid is also pretty much required. You need that GT3 pretty bad, and this is kind of killing me. I mean, this isn't me throwing shade at my current guild on my little account, but I think I don't know why they chose this. Maybe to get some shards, or for Kiadimundi, or maybe just because it's Christmas or something. I don't really know what their thought process was, but we're doing the Geo territory battle, and we're going to get more GT2, I guess, but getting that GT3, we're just not getting it this time, and I don't know, it's just kind of throwing me off. I'm not going to be able to plan around that, and so GT3, obviously that's a little bit different, but also not getting that Mark III raid currency is also going to mess with your roster and your planning a little bit. So, not getting some of those advanced materials is really going to hurt you, I guess, is kind of what I'm getting at here. And now, Rise of the Empire, you're going to get a lot of GT2 and 3 if you work on the specific teams to get there. But if you don't naturally just kind of, oops, I just kind of fell into a Relic 7 Saw Rebel fighter team. Like that's not really a thing. You don't necessarily fall into that until you have a pretty enormous roster. So also, conquest should be a focus. If you can't do if you're not hitting certain milestones, you need to be looking into why am I failing at conquest. Now, Fleet Arena, I changed this a little bit around just in terms of priority. Of course, if you can get the Leviathan, that's great. It's tough to get those conquest characters that are required for Malgus and the Fury Interceptor. Just rare characters. If you don't want to spend money on this game, it's almost impossible to get them right now. They kind of just don't exist. It's very challenging to get those characters. So Leviathan, obviously important. So the thing that we need to be paying attention to now is, we still got several months of the Leviathan meta, but if CG's releases in the last few years are indicative of what they're going to be doing this coming year, probably somewhere around June is when we'll get the new fleet. And I don't know, I just keep thinking, should we be farming Trench? I think it's wise to farm every character, but a lot of people kind of just relaxed on, oh, Trench isn't good, I can just skip him. And I get that, I want to skip him, but I do think, what if he is the new fleet meta coming up, and you just you can't even get the capital ship at all. It's not a thing you can get. I don't know that that's going to happen. I have no idea, but it seems like something you should be paying attention to. Otherwise, you guys can read this list of other important ships. The two other Galactic Legend level characters. The Conquest ships are super important. The Scythe and the TIE Interceptor, really important ships. And then, obviously, the Marauder for Negotiator or Endurance teams, and then the TIE Defenders also really strong, folks. For Conquest, now I did put out a video, it's my most recent video before this, about how to unlock Darth Bane. It takes 6 months if you want to do it the kind of lazy way and just go for crate 5 instead of red crate to crate 7. So 5 is a little bit back, but it's a lot easier to do, and you don't need Galactic Legends for it. You don't need any of the new teams. You can kind of just get by on specific targeted feats. So go check that out, guys. I'll try to put the link in the video description. So if I don't, you can just literally click one video back. You'll get there, folks. Rise of the Empire versus Raid. Which one matters more? We talk about this every time, guys. And honestly, I think the Raid has to take precedence. The Rise of the Empire, you can get most of the rewards available just by having a guild that deploys their stuff. It's as simple as that. As opposed to the Raid, your whole guild has to kind of buy in and get these new teams and the new characters. And if you don't, and you don't get good rewards, like I said before, missing out on Mark III currency, raid currency, is a really huge bummer. Huge bummer. So I think the current raid is always going to take precedence and priority. I think, honestly, it's going to end up being something along the lines of every 9 months, we spend one of those months to bulk up our raid teams. I think that that's going to end up being the best strategy. It's like, okay, yeah, I was farming this Galactic Legend. I'm going to pause that and work on some stupid crap I didn't want to for the raid, just so we can get good rewards for the rest of the year. It's it's a little frustrating, I guess. But I mean, the good news about this raid is, other than the fact that people really love calling it Speeder Bike Pursuit instead of Endor Raid, and they like to make sure you know that it's not the Endor Raid. It couldn't possibly be that. It's Speeder Bike Pursuit. They get frustrated. That's one of the best things about this raid. The other really good thing is you can get a 13 million score, which is what you need to average across your guild in order to get to, what, the second to best crate? You can get it without farming worthless characters. It's like, hey, crate raid, maybe you wanted to get a Jawa team or something like that. I mean, eventually it turned out you didn't want a Jawa team. You wanted to split your cartel, but initially, a lot of people were farming Jawas because they thought that was going to be the best 5th team on the crate raid. This one, and then you're left with bad. Oh, great! Now I have Jawas. What am I going to do with 5 glowing blue Jawas? Not like nothing. Hope a Datacron is released for them, I guess. But otherwise, you can get a 13 million score with just good characters, guys. With characters that you're going to need later, or characters that are really relevant to the meta right now. Characters that will not hurt your roster later on. You're not going to say a year later, man, I really wish I had just kept Relic 7 on Drogo instead of putting Relic 8 on him. Like, it's just going to be, oh yeah, that makes sense. It's going to pan out for you in a lot of different ways. So I just put a couple of the teams here that are getting the good scores. Obviously, it doesn't add up to 13 million, but, you know, Leia can solo it if you mod swap. It's not tough, though. I do that one, in fact, on 2 different accounts, and you don't have to reset it. There's a formula for it. You got it. Once you put the mods on, then you're good to go as long as you can follow simple instructions. Now, Piet and Han both required at Relic 8, so good to go. Iden and Drogon. Iden's not required for anything, but with her TIE Defender currently countering the Leviathan fleet, and with her also doing really well at Relic 8 and giving you a crazy high score and a lot of damage, she has become one of the top characters to farm right now, folks. She is really good. Not to mention, she's also got a focus in the new conquest stuff. She's got a lot of really cool stuff, and highly recommend you get her farmed up as high as you can, guys. I just took her to Relic 8 on both of my main account and my Professor X middle account. She's definitely worth it while. And then C-3PO and Scout Trooper also doing a lot. Probably don't need the Scout Omicron, guys. It's only worth about 300,000 extra damage. If you really can't live without 300k extra damage, then I advise that you find a way to cope and not put that stupid Omicron on, folks. Now, I did make a video on the safest farms, all the different characters that are going to do you the best, the most amount of good for the Endor raid. You guys can find that. I'll probably put a link to that in the video description as well. Now, Rise of the Empire. I need to update this soon, but I'm going to make I think a special missions video talking about what teams are going to give you the biggest bang for your buck. So right now, we can do the Jedi Cal special mission, and all this stuff, guys, kind of goes into solving our Kyrotech crunch a little bit, at least, because you're gonna get so much GT2 from farming the Zepho mission in Phase 2, and then the Cal Kestis mission, special mission thing in Phase 3. I guess it's clones for that one, but once you get that, your whole guild gets a ton of Kyrotech, guys. It doesn't look like too much, but man, it really adds up to being a ton of Kyrotech across all these different things. And then if people are also getting the Night Sisters mission done, and they're getting the what's his name? Saw Gerrera mission done as well. Like you just get an endless supply of Kyrotech, which I mean, a lot of people say, oh, why did special missions translate into Kyrotech? It's because you can use GET 2 and 3 to buy Kyrotech. I don't think I should have had to explain that, but a lot of people have asked, so I guess I did, and it's not intuitive, but I thought it was. So my apologies to everyone who didn't understand that. Now, Galactic Legends have their own event. We don't know how often it's going to be. At least originally we thought it was just going to be on the same schedule as Conquest. We just get once per month. But now they're saying, oh no, it's just whatever we choose. Just pick a day, and maybe that's the day that we get to do this Galactic Legend event that takes up our time, but then gets us Omicrons, or potentially being able to farm Galactic Legends. It's a cool way to farm Omicrons, though, especially for people who don't want to spend money on the game. You can spend crystals on them instead. Now, for new releases, Bo-Katan. Gosh, that's such a bad pun. I'm not even going to say it out loud. You have to look on the screen. But so far, she seems good. She'll kill Lord Vader teams a lot, I guess. If you put her on defense right now, she just gets murdered by a lot of stupid crap, like Tuskens beat her and Bad Batch beat her, and it's not just a close fight. It's like they just pick you up and murder you. It's horrible. It's terrible. It's not good. It's not okay. But at the same time, no one went for Bo, really. Less than 500 Bo-Katans were unlocked by the top 100 guilds. That means mostly it was just collectors who got Bo-Katan, who aren't even part of the main meta, really. Like the people who just, hey, I'll collect this new character. I have a couple $1,000s to spend every month. And that's fine, that's not shade, but no one went for her, and CG should be thanked for saving me a ton of money. I thought that if she was just going to be in an open-ended scenario where we could get, she was just on the journey guide permanently, I'd probably rush these characters. I would soft whale on all of them to get Bo-Katan as early as I could, at least on my main account, but I'm in no hurry, folks. I don't care. I care a little once I have to face her, and I don't have a team, and she's going to be good in GAC, right? We haven't seen her with her GAC Omis in action, so I'm sure she'll be way better in GAC, but no one even cared, and I don't know what to say. I would be interested to see. I didn't keep track of how many people got Afra originally, but she just seems like a very Afra release, but without the player-friendly journey guide situation, CG's like, no, we'll make this exclusive. People will pay. And then they didn't. They were like, you know what, it's Christmas. I would rather buy myself a Nintendo. So that's what people did. Now, I'm more interested in the best Jedi. Now, how many people understood their little joke there? They call it the best Jedi because the actor's name is Ahmed Best. And he's the guy who played Jar Jar in episode 1 and 2, maybe 3. Was he in 3? I don't care. But anyways, his name is Ahmed Best. That's why he's the best Jedi. Just for people who didn't get that. A lot of people didn't, actually. So it looks like he's going to be good on the Qui-Gon team. Qui-Gon team obviously isn't transcendent, but it's been annoying for a long time, especially if you have really fast mods on your Anakin, Qui-Gon, and Ki-Adi-Mundi. Now, I think he's going to make the team significantly stronger. It looks like he's going to be pretty awesome there. So, he's the only character that I am currently trying to soft whale on, which is just buying packs from the weekly store, basically, trying to get them for crystals. He looks good. We'll see how he is in 5v5 GSC. We haven't seen him there yet. Now, just a quick word on Inquisitors, folks, because I think that they deserve their own slide, frankly, because of how they've changed the game significantly. I mean, you want all of them, because not only because the squad itself is good, and the Riva and Grand Inquisitor, like, there are more and more ways to counter them, frankly, and there are fewer and fewer teams that they can counter well. The thing is, beyond their amazing prowess in GAC and Territory Wars, they're also really good in pretty much every single game mode that you can work on, that you can play, and I think the one that I keep thinking of lately is their ships are just really important. They continue to be important, and I would be surprised if that stops. They're in a couple conquest ships. You should be working on Inquisitors, folks, at least a few of them, just so you can have access to those awesome ships, but then also just the relative level of domination they have over a ton of different game modes. Imperial remnants are here, and it's a very interesting situation right now. So the people who play Territory Wars a lot refer to the top 16 a lot because every player places 8 teams on defense. And then, if you're in the top Territory War Guild, in theory, you're only going to use 8 teams to counter your opponent's 8 teams on defense. So everyone needs 16 teams, no more, no less, in order to dominate in Territory Wars. And so a lot of the guilds are saying they think the Remnant team with Spiky, Head, Gideon is going to be a top 16 team. Of course, you need some of the Omicrons for it. I think the order is supposed to go leadership, then unique, then special. Don't hold me to it on that. That's what I've heard. I think that's what it is. But I mean, so it's full of a lot of useful characters. None of the characters you look at, you say, oh, no, that's awful. I don't want that character. All of them, in fact, have a pretty good use case. And, you probably want that team eventually. I guess the thing is, right now it just seems like a stretch goal. Like, if you have a Galactic Legend to work on, go work on that instead. It's not Transcendent. It's not a team. Like, I always say, I've told people, like, go get Cal. Go get Jedi Cal as quick as you can. And it's not just because he's new. A lot of these newer characters, I think you can kind of just push the delay button on a little bit. But I do think that this Remnant team it's another delay team. It looks good in GAC, looks better in Territory Wars, but unless your whole guild is going to go for this team and put Omicrons on and put decent relics on, which there are very few guilds who are in a position to do that, in fact, I would say this is more of a stretch goal. You should be working on this. This is something you want for eventually. You're like, oh, hey, Phoenix are pretty good. Maybe I should work on them. Yeah, you should, but they're not necessary for anything, really. They're not required. So, and Remnants too. They're not required for anything other than being a pretty good squad. I imagine they're gonna end up in the land of misfit farms eventually here, guys. Like Tuskens, Zori, Afra and their requirements. Characters that just kind of don't have a place. I mean, they have a place in the sense that they do really well when you actually have them, when you have enough Zetas, when you have enough relic materials and Chirotech, they're good teams. They're great, in fact. I love all 3 of these. Probably Imperial Remnants will be on here eventually too, but they're just not tied to anything. No GL requires them to be good. Like, they're kind of their own team, and yeah, they're good. They're fine. And that's it. That's what they are. They're fine. If you want to spend all the Chirotech and Zetas to get them up and running, good for you. But that's not absolutely necessary to be able to function in this game. And, I make people mad every time with this slide. Man, Zori is just the best ever. She's so good. What are you talking about? She needs... How can you not afford the Zetas? I mean, I can't. 2 of my accounts would love to have Zori and be able to put Chirotech and the Zetas on her and the Omicron, and then you have to put Zeta on Finn, and you probably want a Zeta on Resistance Hero Finn, and then you probably want one on Rose and the Omicron on Rose, and it just snowballs into this giant mess that... and then you have to put more relics on the team so they don't just get sniped out by a really bad Jedi Revan team. It's a great team. It really is. And you can hold it, guys. You can hold it off. You can stave off the need for that team until you have all your Galactic Legends. I hate to tell you, but you totally can wait to get that team. I'm doing it, and I feel fine. So, yay. You can yell at me in the comments as well, respectfully, if you'd like. Speculation. All right. Are we going to get... We don't know what's coming up. CG... hasn't told us. We have no notion of what's next at all. I mean, maybe I missed something. I don't think so. I've been paying attention. We don't know a hint of even one character right now, guys. We know that Bane is coming out in Conquest. We'll be working on him for sure because he's going to lift Sith Eternal Emperor. And then otherwise, we don't know. You can say, okay, we had Marauder randomly released. The ship Marauder for Negotiator. I just think maybe they're going to go back for a little bit and work on Clone Wars stuff versus Separatist. That's just a guess, though. It just seems like, why put Admiral Trench in the game? Why make people care about this character? I mean, no one does care about it. He's an okay Territory War character. Barely top 16 kind of thing, if you have all his Zetas. So, what are you doing with Trench? Hopefully he's going to be a capital ship pilot and make everyone mad who didn't farm him. I don't know. It just seems like maybe they're going that direction, but I could be wrong. It could be Old Republic. It could be anything. It could be High Republic from the new show that's going to be coming out soon. I don't know. Probably like Ahsoka will get some stuff. Maybe we'll get some stuff from Andor. That would be awesome. One way or another, though, guys. Yeah, farm trench and then just hold on to your butts. Work on Imperial remnants if you got to, I guess. So, final recap, guys. You guys can read this on your own. I'm not going to read it out loud. We barely touched on what the best Galactic Legend options are. I have a different video for that. It's called Farm... I don't even know. Just search something about Galactic Legends farming order by Zereth. You'll get there. It'll be wonderful. I'll try to put a link to that in the video description as well. So, the smaller points, guys, things that maybe I missed, maybe you missed. Iden is the best farm in the game right now because of her ship countering the meta fleet, because she is dominant in the raid, because she's really strong in conquest right now. This is the time to work on Iden Versio, in my opinion, guys. And then Baze is also really strong because he's going with Leia. He's going with Admiral Radis. Gosh, I'm bad with Admiral names today, apparently. But Baze is doing some crazy stuff as well. I didn't realize how strong he was until I put Relic 8 on him on my main account, and he's just been so crazy strong, guys. I mean, I know a Relic 8 sounds like too much, maybe, but he's really good there. Work on your fleets, guys. Farm your fleets. I tell people that all the time, but I mean, we're gonna see a big fleet shift soon, and you're gonna get more and more behind if you're not on top of things. Trench Manda being fairly important, and then I mean, if you're looking at a tiebreaker for which Galactic Legend to go next in Sith Eternal Emperor, he is one of those options. Maybe you choose him to farm first because Darth Bane, is going to be pretty good. So, I think that's it, folks. Let me know what your thoughts are. What should you be farming next? I would love to hear what your thoughts are. Hit me up in the comments. Thank you all so much for watching, and remember that in all things, Zereth prevails.